This is Ralph. He's a gigantic fluff ball. And his brother Tom? Well, he's due back any second now. We adopted them as rescue kittens just under a year ago and have been living happily ever after ever since. But tomorrow is a big day, maybe the biggest in their lives so far. Tomorrow, they'll be going outside for the very first time. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, because I was thinking it too. The great outdoors isn't safe. What if they get hit by a car? What if they get in a fight with another cat? Or what if they run away or can't find their way home? Honestly, I'd like nothing more than to cover them in bubble wrap and never let them outside. But bubble wrap's expensive and that would be wildly impractical. Instead, we'd do everything in our power to make going outside as safe as we possibly could. Step 1. Both cats have been neutered, microchipped and fully vaccinated. This keeps them safe and keeps other cats in the neighbourhood safe too. Step 2. They won't be allowed out at night. Being black, they're almost impossible to see when it's dark, and this just adds a whole new level of danger. We even had to install LED lights on the stairs to leave on overnight so that we wouldn't accidentally stand on them. Step 3. Even still, as a precaution, they'll both wear entirely reflective collars, just in case they don't come home for some reason. And they're quick release collars, which means they break away and fall off if they get caught on a tree so they don't hurt themselves. From prior experience, I know how quickly cats can get through these things, so I've stocked up in advance. These collars also have bells, which makes it much harder for the cats to catch local wildlife, which is something I'm always really concerned about. Cats hunt best when they can sneak up on their prey, and these bells take away that element of stealth they rely upon so much. And step 4, we've put up a 6-foot fence securing the last part of the garden. I realise that cats are excellent jumpers, but hopefully this will serve as a sort of physical boundary of the garden, and what would ideally be the extent of their territory. We'd also done some general preparations over the last few weeks, such as training them to use a cat flap by putting one in the lounge door, and feeding them at the same time each day to get them in a good routine, which would hopefully make coming home on time a lot easier. Everything was ready and in place. All we could do now was hope for the best and get a good night's sleep. Wakey wakey sleepyheads, you ready to go outside? The plan was to open the door and let the cats find their own way out. It was early morning and they hadn't been fed yet, so it should be easy enough to get them back inside again. We'd let them out for half an hour, supervised constantly, and then do the same thing tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that, until they were fully accustomed and we felt happy with them going out by themselves.
Come on, boys.
And it was thoroughly anticlimactic. They just sat there nervously for precisely 7.5 minutes. I mean, it was really interesting to see how hyper-aware they both were, ears twitching and eyes flicking at any slight noise or movement, but they were far more cautious than I'd anticipated. Tom eventually mustered up the courage to send out a single exploratory paw.
Good boy, Tom Hanks.
Before promptly deciding against it again.
Oh, so close.
Ralph was the first to venture down to the outside doormat, quickly followed by his brother. And almost immediately they spotted a butterfly.
What's that, like a butterfly? Look how in sync they are.
And that was pretty much it for the first day, but by the second they were already a lot braver, exploring the bushes and trees that line one side of the garden. They were still very jumpy, and would retreat to the house every couple of minutes. And from there, they just sort of transitioned into fully outdoor cats. It took a few weeks, but it got to the point where we no longer needed to supervise them, and they'd come and go as they please, with the only restriction being that they were kept in after dark.
Ralphie!
Both cats really enjoyed being outside, and it was nice for us too. We no longer needed to worry about accidentally leaving the door open or them escaping through open windows. Everything had gone exactly to plan. Until now. It was a month or so later, and Ralph didn't come home. He wouldn't respond to our calls, and we couldn't find him anywhere. Now, I know this might not seem like it's anything to worry about, but this was really out of character. Ralph's a very shy and timid cat, and very dependent on his brother. We were genuinely worried. I went looking around the neighbourhood, hoping my torch would catch his reflective collar, or that he'd eventually be able to hear me calling, but there was no sign of him anywhere.
Where's Ralph gone? He's not sleeping on his windowsill. Where's Ralph gone? Tom is feeling so alone. We miss his fluffy ears and great big bushy tail. Ralph, if you can hear this, will you please come home?